this. It's really, really nice there. So what we have here is the test track that we have at my race pass. I'm going to be using this. This is going to have different people racing different classes probably than what you guys are used to, but that is totally fine. It is going to be exactly the same as what y'all are used to here. So I've set up my schedule here, and I've also put in my classes, and that's going to be one of the first things I'm going to bring up to you guys as something to look out for. Make sure that you're using the correct classes. I know that this name override here, it's very tempting to just put in something and have it be a catch-all, but that can cause a lot of problems for drivers down the road. Sorry, pardon the pun. Cause a lot of problems for drivers if they're trying to add in their schedule, for example, and you put in, let's say instead of putting this 360 sprints, I put in this was a sport compact as kind of a big example of something different. That driver won't put down that they race 360 sprints. They're going to put down that they race sport compacts, and so that can cause confusion as to why their results don't transfer over, because it does have to be the exact same class. If you do have any questions about classes or what classes should be where, feel free to ask. Also of note, if you do have any sanctions here, we have a list of all of the sanctions on the system. For example, WSOTA, these are the classes that WSOTA would use in the system. So if you raced WSOTA Midwest Modifieds, that's what this is going to be here. That's B mods. So you would add that in instead of adding in something brand new, for example. So something to keep in mind, something to definitely watch out for is to make sure that you're using that correct class. So we'll click here. We'll go to today's event, and today I'm going to still be working in this super stock class. So also today I'm going to be doing one of the different pill draw options, so you can see that. I'm going to be doing the option where the driver gets to click the button there, and then I'm also going to be doing transponders with rentals here, so we can see that. Oh. So move on here. Go right into our entries. Give me one sec here. So I have a few other classes that already have everything in. Let's go right into our super stocks. So when we have entries here for our super stocks, this is going to be everybody in our profile section that is listed under this class. So when a driver shows up, says, hey, my name's Cole. We can actually search for Cole in the system. We can find him here. We'll click on him, and it's going to pull up his information. So Cole's information, he's actually claimed his profile. So we actually get something kind of cool here. This will actually go to his My Race Pass profile. These results here, since all of his events are on his profile, they'll be shared out here. But we'll also get his car number here. We've yet to draw his pill number, but we'll do that here in just a second. We can put in his owner. So we can add in a new owner. Looks like he's used other owners in the past, but we'll add one in. So we're just going to add in a team, and we'll give it mine here. So I'll say that I decided to get my own car. We'll add that car in. So it's a super stock, and it's number 46. So we'll add that in, and let's have the pay go to me tonight. That. We also check to see if the transponder is rented. I'm using the default transponder for Cole, so he has the 1001. We'll add that in. And then that pill number will be there that we can click on it, and we can draw that pill here. So that is about my luck. I always have the worst luck drawing pill numbers. That's why it's a good thing I'm not a driver. So we can keep going throughout doing this. Otherwise, we can get drivers in here. Let's search for one. So let's say there's a driver here Let's find Bruce Wayne. Bruce is not here, but we can find him in the system. So if we type in Bruce, it's going to find all of the Bruces that we have in my race pass. So we'll put in his last name, and we see that we have Bruce Wayne from Gotham, Hawaii. So when we click him, it's going to have this box that pops up, and it's going to say, hey, wait, this is the first time that he's been entered into our super stocks. Is this right? This is our first line of defense against duplication. So because we have a massive network that's going to have drivers across the nation and even globally, it is very possible and that there might be a duplication. And this is kind of the first step to make sure that we don't have any problems with that. So it's going to ask, and I'm going to say yes, it is correct. If you do have this driver, and and we know, so let's say Bruce has been racing here, he's been racing every week, and it pops up that message. It has this red box here. That's going to be kind of our first sign that, hey, this is not the driver here that we've raced with before. Maybe we want to check here. Maybe we want to check that he's not using his middle name. Maybe he's using his middle name Robin in the other one. So it's right there. Whatever the case is, we want to make sure that we kind of eliminate those because if we kept going with this duplication, say he was a duplicate driver, it's going to treat them as though there were two people with identical names. So it's going to make the points be different. It's going to split up the results, and we can definitely fix that. But some of the drivers might be a bit more confused than they need to be. So be vigilant, try to make sure that we don't add in a ton of duplicate drivers or we don't duplicate anything. The less that we do that, the better that we do. So we're going to put in his car number now. We'll put in, he is the 00, and we'll add him in. I'm missing his transponder. That's okay though, I can add that right here. If I was missing a owner information too, I can edit this entry. I'll save first. But we can edit his entry. We can add that owner information here. And it'll be exactly the same. As we did the last time. Entered in, save, and we've edited it. And we can do this at any time too. So if we're going through and he just neglected to tell us that he had an owner information until after we've calculated points, we can still go back here and edit his entry and change that the payout goes to the owner over here. So we'll draw for a pill, see if I can do any better than I did last time. I did not. That's telling you, it's not a coincidence. I'm not a driver. Other things I can do here, we can do this scan barcode. So especially popular for WSOTA, they actually assign all of the drivers here the hard cards. You can actually get these hard cards too. Just let us know. We'll sign them out to y'all. You can give your drivers those. They're the size of a credit card. They have a barcode on the back of them. You can scan the driver in, and when that'll pull up that information the same as we would click on their name here. Couple cool things about that, why we would want to do that. So for one, it works throughout the network. So any driver that has one, they can only have one card for that profile. So it will really eliminate down on those duplicates. It'll speed up things on the back end here, and you do get access to those cards. So you do have to get your own scanner. We recommend scanners that'll scan smartphones. That's something we're looking at doing here in the real near future, is having it so that drivers can have that on their smartphone. So some of the last ways we can enter in drivers here, we can import from a previous race. So let's say we're at a 2-day show, and I know that my drivers from one day are going to be the same as the drivers from the next. So I can actually import them over, and I'll actually pull over their transponder numbers and their pill draw numbers for those days. So I'm actually going to copy those over for these three. And we can still just edit those transponder numbers for those drivers as well. There's just another reminder, if you do have any questions, feel free to use that chat. You can press, I believe it is Alt and H, and that'll pop up the chat box. I'm monitoring that chat, so if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out through that chat. Let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'll also have a minutes there where I will be answering questions after I get done, but don't be afraid to ask any questions. I'll make note of those and answer those for y'all. So I've entered in the drivers here. I'm going to actually use the last way, this speed entry. And what this is going to do for me is, as long as I don't have any duplicated numbers or duplicated transponder numbers, it's just going to let me check through the drivers and let me add those in. So I'm going to just work in and add in 10 drivers. See, we had our first problem. I have 2 drivers that have the 1005. So it's going to pop up. If I try to do that again, it's going to say, hey, transponder number's taken. So you need to change that transponder number. So when it has these transponder numbers here, these are going to be per class. So any of these numbers or anything like that, if we went into our other class up here and also put in the 1006 number, that is okay. It's just going to be checking for a duplication in the class itself. Let's add one more. Let's add Biff Beef. I'll draw their numbers. Hey, all right. Now we're doing somewhere. And then I'm also going to be adding in their transponder numbers. I'm on a roll today. So something that it's going to be a little different. If you used the race management in the past, something that you might not have seen, it just came out just today, is going to be this right here. So what this is actually, instead of having to manually add the races, this is going to keep track of our races that we've done in the past. So it looks like on 216, I did another race that had 1A feature, 1 heat, 10 entries. Instead of building that out manually, we can actually just add that in right now, and we'll just copy over our number of races. And it also is copied over how many racers transfer over. So just like I said, just something that just came out today is that copying over. So that can save quite a bit of time. I was pretty stoked to see this here. So what we're going to be doing on this screen, we're going to double check here, is that we have these transfers set. So if we were to do 0, for example, and then we're going to go to our A feature and try to do our lineups from there, it will still try to create the lineups, but it'll use 0 drivers because we told it to put nobody in. So make sure if you ever have a time where you're doing lineups there and you click the button and you hit calculate and it has 0 drivers, double check and make sure that you don't have 0 set here. Make sure that you have your transfers so that someone is in that race. We're going to set that right back to all. So we're going to be going through with the nice night there. Something else that might be new is this per row. New to you, we'll have this 1, 2, or 3 per row. So we can set how many drivers that we wanted to have in each row there. So we'll go right on through. We're going to go right into our lineups. So we have our Heat 1 lineup. We have everybody here that has lined up, or that is in our entries list for this class. And we're able to calculate our lineups. So the first night, if this is your first time using the system and you haven't calculated lineups yet, you're going to actually be prompted to go to this screen right here. And this screen is going to have every lineup that we have in the system. And you can see that we have a ton of lineups here, and it's pretty unlikely that you're going to use every single one of them here. So you're just going to pick the ones that you're going to be using the most often. So in this case, I've just picked a couple that I'm going to be using, walking people through. So I can do the from pill draw. I can do group qualifying. Heat. I can do a heat from qualifying. I did a IMCA lineups here. I've done pill drop, so on and so forth. I picked the ones that I want to use, and that's what's gotten me this list here. So you can see that we have here. We can also still click this all lineups. We can see that we have kind of a large list here of all the lineups that we want to do. But I'm just going to do my heat from pill draw, calculate those, and they're set and ready to go. So let's say we have this driver, car 01 here. He does not want to start up front. He's a rookie. He just doesn't feel comfortable starting all the way up front. That's okay. We can move him all the way to the back here and save that lineup, and then that'll update. This lineup here, this is actually going to update right now in the My Race Pass app. If you were to download the My Race Pass app from the Google Play Store, the iOS, the Android App Store, the name escapes me right now. If you get that, you'll actually be able to find the test MRP track, and you're actually going to be able to see that I've actually updated my heat lineups right here. You're able to see that as I'm doing it. So if you want, you can download that and follow along and follow the test track as I'm going through here. Other things we're able to do with this lineup, we're able to share this to a Facebook or a Twitter page. If we have that linked up, it'll prompt us for that box here. So we can post that here. It's also something we can do that we can go to this lineup monitor here. It's going to want to know our screen size. But we can have this. So what this will do, this is instead of having a whiteboard or anything in that that pit area, you can actually have a screen hooked up to this here. And this is actually going to update right along with us as we're doing lineups here. So I'm actually going to leave it open in the background so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. But we'll come back to this screen. It'll actually, as we're putting in the results, it'll move this out of the way and put in those A features that we're going to be creating here soon. So we have our lineup set. Let's get our transponders ready to roll. So I'm going to have my MRP Live open here. These settings here for this race data, the IP address, the TCP IP port, we're actually going to find those here. We're going to make sure this network's enabled. So we have our IP address up here. We have our TCP IP port here. We've enabled the network. These settings aren't going to change from night to night. What is going to change from night to night is this MRP Live code. Where do we find that? We're going to find that right up here, the code. This is going to let us connect to MRP Live. This is what links it to today's event. So we can even launch it from web, do that. But I'm going to leave that for now. We'll have this here. And then we also have the assignments path. And for Westhold, this is where we're going to see our assignments there. So we're going to see, that's where it's going to pull that information from. Generally, this is going to be in your C drive. It can be a little bit differently, though, depending on how that's set up there. But when everything's good to go, we're set up, we're just going to connect it. So we're connected, ready to go, and then we're just going to hide it. We don't need to worry about that for now. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to here, we're going to send our lineups over. It's going to say, hey, it sent it. So we're going to go to our transponder system. We want to find everything here. So we're going to be working in our Superstock class, this heat 1 here. Go into that timing and run the race. So when the flag drops here, I'm going to show you a couple things here. One of them is this lap viewer here. So this lap viewer, so fans that have the My Race Pass app that do get the fan subscription, they're actually able to see this lap data as it's going live. So if you actually have that live timing, you're actually going to be able to see this from your phone right now. So you can actually watch that as the race is going. You're actually also able to see all the individual lap times that my drivers have too. So we'll go back here, say that the race is going to finish, so we can import that over. All right. And then the race is over. We'll go right to our results and import them over. And there's our finish. Based on how everyone finished up here, you can save it. Now, again, if you're checking on the app, all of those, these lineups here and these results, they're all going to be here. You can actually follow right along with that from the app. We're also able to set if they did not finish, did not start, were disqualified, were black flagged, and if you do passing points, you have this option here for no passing points. We're also able to click and drag drivers in case something happens. So let's say my transponder, this guy didn't charge his transponder before he went out to race, and he actually finished right up there instead of where he did finish. So we can actually move him up there, save it, and it's good to go. We're also able to share this again, right as we did with our lineups here. We're able to share that over Facebook and Twitter there. So go right back to our lineups. We're going to be able to calculate our lineups. I'm going to do this just the straight up lineup here. And so we have our lineup here. Same process is going to apply. We're just going to send those over. And same idea, just right back to where we were. Found them. And we're going to have a real short A feature here, but you can still follow along if you need to here. So I'm going to have probably one of the shortest A features that I've ever seen. I think 1 or 2 laps we'll do here. So finish it, and we can import that back over. Again, I just want to remind everybody that if you do have any questions at all, don't be afraid to ask those in that chat. It is going to be the Control H for you. So you do have access to it. Don't be afraid. If you do have any questions too, you're also able to select me, so you can just private message me if you need to, but don't be afraid to ask that in public. I'm sure if there is a question that you're thinking of right now, there's going to be someone else out there that'll have that same thought for you. So don't be afraid to do that. We're going to open up questions here as we get through it, but just wanted to give that extra heads up that we're going to be doing that. So now we're going to be going back into our results. And as I also said here, we're going to pull that up, and that heat has gone away. It is our A feature again. We're able to see that. So that is nice for the drivers, and as well, they'll also have the My Race Pass app. So they'll have more than enough opportunity to see that lineups there for you. So we'll go back here. We'll set our, we'll pull on our lineups here. And it's saved, ready to roll, and we're good to go. So we can go right into our points and pay here. So before I started, one of the things I'm going to go through here is points and pay schemes. I'm going to go through it a little bit more in depth. So one thing I get a lot as I'm answering questions is that, say they have a B feature, and they want to make sure that the B feature paid, the person that's in the B feature, and they go transfer to the A, they don't want to make sure that they get double paid. They only get paid for the A feature. So we can set that up if we need to. We can set that up here in our point scheme. So we're going to go into our point scheme and set that up. So we're going to go into our point scheme. Let's set up a B feature. We set up a B feature here. So how will we make it so that, let's say we're transferring 5 drivers, for example. How are you going to make it so that this 6th place person gets those points? So when we do that, when we set it up here in the points, if you click this box here, this is going to make it so that drivers who are who are transferring out of this race here from the A feature, that they're not going to receive these points at all. And it's going to work the same with pay. So when you save that, if we had a B feature and you transferred out, this is only going to go to the first non-qualifier, the way that I've set that up now. We're also able to set up our starting points and starting pay here. This first one is going to be for everybody that completes at least 1 lap. If you don't want people in the features to do that, there's also a box up here when we edit. So let's say we edit this. We don't want our drivers to receive show up points, so we can do that. We can also set up show up points, and we also set up these drivers who don't start a single race. So if they show up and they just have the worst luck, you're actually able to do that up here. It's this non-start points. So that's going to be the difference between these 2 boxes. So when we go back here, we're going to set up our points and pay scheme. So I do have our 2018 points. I'm going to put in our pay scheme, and we're going to put in whether or not it's going to go to drivers, owners, cars. When we do owners or cars, going to make sure that they do have a team owner selected. Otherwise, those points it won't apply, because they want to apply those to a team owner, to the car number, which is part of that. And if you're doing some sort of memberships, or for any reason one driver just not going to receive points, we can uncheck their name here. So that's something we're able to do. So we're just going to hit add, and it's going to load up my points and pay scheme. But then I just realized I did not want to use the sprint car pay scheme. So this is my superstock class. I did this wrong. So what you're going to do is make sure that you hover over this recalculate button, and from here we can actually just pick, I'm just going to do the special pay and recalculate those points and pay here. And that's going to change the pay up a bit here. So they're all there. And you see, I noticed that I specifically pointed out this. What if I click here? So that's going to add an additional points pay group. Now, something that might happen is you might try to recalculate it, and I've seen it happen. You might try to recalculate it, and you'll just try to go through and hit that same points and pay again the right way. And it's going to have 2 points pay groups. You're going to see it up here at the top. And so you can see that we have these 2 here. So what's kind of going on here is that right now, because it's applied to the points, it's actually giving them double points. That points group, it works really well. Let's say you have a different schedule that you want to apply it to, a special schedule where they get points separate. You actually select the schedule here, and you might use a different points group for that. You could do a different point group for double points or double pay nights. You could actually have one special for that. But if you go through and you have a separate points group like this, when we go to, let's X out of that. When we go to our points and pay for the night, it's going to be a little off because it's going to duplicate all those points. We can actually see here towards the bottom in our super stocks. Let's take a look at coal. So we're going to see that coal, normally, and it's going to be the 27th, he gets 41, 43, 45, but then he has a 92 here. So that 92 points is because we've duplicated that points group here. But if we do that, if we pick that up on that, we're able to actually see all the different points groups that we can do. We can click that here. You can see this drop down. Well, to fix that, it's a pretty easy fix. We'll just hit delete. It's going to ask if we just want to delete that points group. We can. We'll delete that extra points group. It's going to take effect instantly. So when we refresh that, go right back to my driver, Cole. Everything's going to look a lot more consistent here. He's going to have 46 points. It's going to be a lot more in line with how he wanted him to be. And don't be afraid. If you do, there's no big panic button. I know the big red button can be kind of intimidating, but even if we were to delete all of our points groups, that's totally okay. We can just start brand new right back at the top there. Just add in that 2018 up here, add in the pay scheme that we want to use, click here, everything's added in, we're ready to go for the night. We're also able to do adjustments here for our points and our pay off here to the side if we did need to do that. That is something we're totally able to do. And we're also able to create payments. So let's create payments down here at the bottom. And let's see what this looks like. So when we create payments, we're actually able to set how folks are paid. So in this case, I'm just going to have everyone set to check, but I could have way more options than that, including direct deposit. I can do cash, gold, silver, other, or not payable. So I have a lot of options here. I can also adjust those pay amounts here to do any adjustments or last minute things here. I can do a QuickBooks export right here. Also can do a report. I'm going to show you that report here in just a sec. But let's click that create checks. It's going to pop up this window here. And essentially, we have a few different we have this layout here. We're going to put in a starting check number. For me, I'm just going to put this one here is my starting check number. Select everything looks good here. Make sure everything's good to go. We'll create that. And our checks pop up here. And we can print them right up here at the top. This is going to be the kind of I call them trifold, where they have the two receipts, one for you, one for them. And you can actually see that we have addresses for some of these drivers over here. So we can print that out for them. That report that I was talking about, that's going to be right here. It's going to be this payout report. It's going to keep track of their names, who it's paid to, the check numbers. You can see that Spec Racing here gets a nice little payday, but since we marked that owner here, it's going to replace him. You're going to see that driver here, so you can keep track of it. But that's going to be how they're paid here. So, which is also going to be what's on the check too. So make sure that that's what they want for the owner information, because it is going to put that as Spec Racing. So make sure that that's what they want when they want that on the check there. So we'll take a look at our reports that we have. Besides just that payout report there, we have a few different reports that you can take a look at, and they're going to be broken out here. These lines kind of delineate a lot of the different steps in the process. So in this case, we have our kind of beginning steps. So we have our entry list and our transponder list, as well as 3 different kinds of lineup sheets. These lineup sheets are going to have a lot of they're going to have the same information, but it's going to be displayed a little bit differently, depending on your preference is what we're going to be using for those. So we're going to have every class here that we're racing. If we wanted to just do one per page, say I just wanted to print off my 410 feature lineup or just all of my A features, we can just hide all of the pages here. And when we check these ones here, it's just going to print just these ones here. All of our reports are also able to be exported into PDFs. The ones that make the most sense to are exportable into Excel if you need that as well. And we're also able to change the size on that. So we can make it super small if we wanted to save more paper here and add more of that. That's something we can do. So other ones, so we have this detailed points report. This is something that non-WSOTA sanctions they like to send out. Of course, with WSOTA, the way that they have it is that all of that goes to WSOTA. So if you are a WSOTA track, it does just update all of the things in the sanction management for you without you guys having to do anything here. You don't have to mess with the form here. But some folks like to have that too, because it does have this signature off to the side. And you can see for the class we're working on, you can see our owner information. It has this nice breakdown here of all of our different points. for all the different races. Other reports that we like to show off here, I like this points awarded report quite a bit. The reason is we can do a few different things with it. One of my favorites is that you can also keep track of the earnings and things. We can also select, customize this out a bit. So I can just have this so that it can be signed off on here, which is very nice. So that's something that guys do have here. So I've alluded to it a couple times here with this profiles here. So I'm going to show that off here too, as profiles drivers. So you can see all of my different drivers. Let's work on that class that I was working on here, this Superstock class. So when we filter everybody out, we can manage all of our drivers here for the season. So see that I have quite a few different drivers. Some are pending, some aren't. We're also able to manage their default car numbers from here and default transponder numbers. So you can see that some have default transponder numbers, some have default car numbers there, and that's going to be what we're going to see pop up there. That's where it's going to pull that information from. Let's say one of my drivers no longer races. So let's say Vic Veal here. He's retired for the season. So we can actually go through, we can disable him here. And it'll still keep all of his records. Everything there, it's not going to go away. It's not going to hide anything. But when we go back up here for our class, for our Superstock class, he's not there. There's no Mr. Veal is not there. So that's something you can keep track of here. It's going to manage the drivers from there. Other things that you can manage as far as drivers go is that payment options here. So we can actually see all of the different payments that we've done and keep track of all of those here, even if we weren't using checks. And I'd really highly advise that you use this payout management, even if you're using cash, because it does keep track of everything pretty succinctly, keeping track of how much everyone's paid and why. We also have this yearly report, which breaks things down quite a bit. This is going to be a payout by date. It's going to be pretty accurate based on how you've done it. So you can see how all of my drivers have done. We can sort it and see that how everyone's done. We've also have all of our teams here, and it breaks them out by that. So at the end of the year, we have our report down here. This one also keeps track of all the payments made throughout, so it's going to have that same information. So we do have that. This report screen that you see here, this tools reports, these are going to be the reports that are going to be sort of more for the year, the kind of the big overview reports that are going to help tie everything together there. So you can see a lot of the big overview things. One I like to point out, because I'm chronically unlucky with drawing pills, is this average pills here. And you'll actually be able to see, we'll select our schedule per class, how all of my drivers have done with their pills. You can see that average here and how everybody's pretty well the same for the most part. And as more time goes on, it'll kind of balance out and everyone will be even. So if you do have the computer draw for you, and you have a driver who's pretty superstitious and thinks that the computer's out to get him, you can say no. You can look at this and say no. The computer's only out to get Devin. So that's just a joke. It's not out to get me. But so we do have a lot of other reports here, and you also will have access to this contact list, and that works with your online registration. So let's take a look at that. You also might have noticed some of my drivers had addresses, some of them didn't. You might want to wonder where those came from. So you can see some of my drivers here don't have a primary address. Some do. So we can have a couple ways of editing this. So we can edit it manually. So we could open this up, put in their information here if we wanted to. That's certainly something we can do for them. We can even do that for our owners and add in their contact information, and we'll keep track of them all here. But what we also could do is this online registration. And what that'll do is we can put that out for the drivers to register online. I've done that here with this event. They have all year to register for my track. They can go to this link up here. I'd share this out. If you have a website through us, we can actually just put in that link right there on the front side of the website. But you're actually able to see my information here, and then able to put in what I want for my classes, and I'm able to register for the year. You can see that I've registered right here already, and I'm able to confirm myself as a driver. And when I do that, if I was to create and confirm myself as a driver, I'll show right back up here. Also, the information that I put here for the contact list will get updated. Now, if you had last year, if you had all of your drivers register, unless their information changes, they don't have to register again here if they don't want to. If they do change their addresses, they can do that again, and it'll update on the contact list up here. So that's something else that you have access to. Something else that's super cool that comes with your plan from Plus or above. That you get those plans there. So something to keep an eye out for. Something else I want to show off too is this points and pay right up here. And the reason I show this off, you saw I did it to show off what happened when I had kind of 2-point groups. You can also see the breakdown here. I like to use this one more at a glance instead of using the reports, just to kind of see where everybody got all their points from. And you can even see where all these points are coming from here, what that does. So definitely something you guys have to play around with. And speaking of playing around with the system, you will also have access to the Sandbox Mode here. And the Sandbox Mode is where you can test everything out without their having things go to the app. We could create as many different drivers as we wanted here. None of that shares out. It's all self-contained. It stays in one area. And really, you're just able to go nuts, practice how to do everything, see what different scenarios will do, play around with the system, and see what get really comfortable with using the sandbox mode and how that works. Because this area, I like to joke that the sandbox mode is like Las Vegas because what happens in it stays in it, and you're able to just keep it all self-contained here. So if you see this blue bar here at the top, that's kind of your cue that you're able to test the sandbox mode out. I'll just warn you not to make sure you're not putting anything permanent, because we do go through and we scrub that out every week or so here as the season goes on. So make sure you're not putting anything that you absolutely need to keep. Just use it as sort of a blank space that you can kind of test everything out and see how everything's going. So that's going to wrap up what I have to talk about for the day. Using the chat, do you guys have any questions about anything that we've gone over at all, or maybe something that you wanted to see that I have not gone over? Is there anything that you guys looking for? Again, you can click that Alt and H. We'll let you do that, I believe. We'll let you do that chat. And there's also on that bar there's a chat, so you're able to chat in. I'm going to give everybody here some time to just chat any questions that you have about anything we've gone over, and I'll be happy to answer them. Awesome. So I did get a question here. So for the app, there's for fans of the app, they're able to follow the track here. So when they do that, so they can have the free plan there for that, and that's going to give them access to all the schedule, the results, the lineups that we're doing here. If they want to see the live timing, they're certainly able to do that, and that's going to be uh, $7.99 for them to do that for the year, and that's going to let them see that live timing information that we did when we integrated our transponders. It's also going to let them view individual lap times for the drivers, let them get really in depth with that. We also have a plan that has Insider, which will let them see a better breakdown of the points when they're on the actual front side of the site there. So that's something that fans definitely get, and drivers too. I know there's a lot of drivers that would really love to have that information there right at the palm of their hands, and that's it's right there for them, ready to go. Um, so that was definitely a great question. Thanks for answering that. Thanks for asking that. And again, feel free to, again, that's going to be the chat there. Feel free to chat out that any questions that you have about the system, or be happy to answer those for you while you have me here for the next few minutes or so. So again, if you do have any questions, feel free to ask those there. Um, oh, we got another question here. Oh, you can also do that same thing there too. So when I said that they don't have to register again, if you do it that way, that actually works out really well. So what basically what the question was in registration, um, they waited to use that confirmation there because right here, if I don't confirm, I'm not going to be in the entry list, and I'm also not going to have. I'll pull this up here. There's going to be a spot here off to the side. So you see this memberships here. You actually use that to show who's done the registration. I'll pop up and say this person's done registration. So what she did was using the registration, made sure that she had the forms before she confirmed them, which is a great way of doing that. Make sure that they have everything there. So no, you don't have to stop doing that if you don't want to stop doing that. That actually works out really well. That's a cool way of using the system there. I was just saying, some folks, if they don't do it that way, they could have that online registration um, be just for the one-time thing, just to make sure that they get new information and get that. But the way you're doing it works out amazingly well. So no, that's a great question. And again, that's going to be that Alt and H, letting you do all the chat there, so you can chat in with any questions that you have. Again, don't be shy. Be happy to answer anything that you guys have about that. So something else to that I can show you here for that online registration is that you also will have a form here. So what some folks do with this form here, so you can see my information. I apparently put down that I'm a youth small for my jacket size, which is pretty funny to me. But you also have this Social Security or federal ID number here, as well as the driver's signature, and you can print that off with the forms there. So um, if you kind of have insurance forms or anything like that, you can print those off double-sided here, and that way you'll have it too. So that's another thing you can have is this view here. They're going to have that, and then wait to confirm them until you get that. Um, so you also have that. And we can also make last-minute changes here if we want to change anything up here. Um, so we can edit it if we need to. So if a driver showed up and said, "Oh, wait, I put my phone number down wrong. I put that number and I should have put that number." That's okay. We can just edit that here in this edit box. Anytime you see this pencil and piece of paper icon right here, that's going to be kind of your cue that you can edit something there in the system. And we can also do more than just yearly registrations in online registration. So another thing that we can do, we can add registration events for a non-racing event. This can be a lot of different things. I've seen people use this for a few things. I see a lot of banquets being done with this. Um, also, few other things if you need to keep track of something that's not necessarily in racing. We can also do a big event registration. So I could pick a single day that I want my drivers to register for my schedule, and we can find that out right here. And they register for that. And then what'll happen there is they're actually going to show up at another spot. We can actually show them up as the pre-entries. So it's going to be a special spot here in entries. Um, we're going to have that pre-entries right here. I also can see who is in our last event from here. So we can see quite a bit. Our pre-entries are going to show for that, so you can keep track of if you have a driver right before big events. If you wanted to do that, you could. That is an option that y'all have. So if you do any questions, I'm going to leave it open here for another about 5-ish minutes there for a few questions if you have any. Don't be afraid to ask any questions that you have, and that's Alt and H will get you that chat for any questions that you want to ask about my race pass. Doesn't have to be about the race management at all either. Could be about registration, tickets, anything you need to know about. I'll be happy to help. So you do also have access to online tickets here with the system too. So if I did want to do that, we can also do that. So let's actually set up an event for online tickets. Um, let's do April 6th here. We can actually click this Add Tickets button right here, and I'll ask us what we want to do about that. So we'll start selling them now. End it here for the event. We can put in all the different categories that we want to put in here. So if I did want to put in adult general admission, but I just wanted to call it general admission, for example, I could. I could set in how many how many are available. We can put in the main price here. We can do a pre-sale price. So if we want to do a sale, We could definitely do that here. We can put in if we want it to be a rain check or a refund, if the unfortunate event the weather just doesn't want to cooperate with us. But we put in that price here. We're able to add those tickets. You can see we also have like pit pass options here. Cool thing is we're able to separate these out into separate reports for when we're doing things with our online tickets. So, for example, we can split up our reports so we have just people in the front, people in the back, gate entry, so we can speed up that process there for the will call tickets. We'll just hit add, and when we add those tickets in, it'll show up on our marketplace here that we have for My Race Pass. If you have a website through us too, it'll show up on there in the schedule, so fans can buy that, and also show up in the app. And so you can see here, just from clicking and doing this little bit of work, we've actually have our tickets out and ready for sale for a lot of different folks to find throughout our network. So it is something there that you can take advantage of too. If you have any questions about that, feel free to let us know. You're also able to find out more information if you go to myracepass.com/YouTube. myracepass.com/YouTube. And that's going to take you to our YouTube channel. There, you're going to be able to see the videos about everything that we've done thus far. We'll go to our playlist. You can see that here. So we do have our score and promoter videos. These go over everything we've gone through here. Also, all these videos that we're doing for our walkthroughs this week and the next, and probably for the foreseeable future, also going to go up in here as well. So don't be afraid to use that as a resource. Also, you'll have access to this help button here, which takes you to our knowledge base, frequently asked questions here. I'm going to see that. You see, you can actually do the online live chat here. If you'd like to do that, you can. So a lot of different avenues for support along with that sandbox. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to reach out. Do you have any questions? It's been great talking with you all today. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Have a good one.